Episode Revenant is coming to an end and episode Heresy launches tomorrow, so now is a great time to look back and have a conversation as to whether Revenant has been a success or not. Well, Bungie tried out some new things in this episode. There were some hits and misses, so today let's have a look back with my episode Revenant review. Well, if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe for more Destiny 2 content here on Endgame Express. Well, first of all, let's start with the story of episode Revenant. So this is the first new experiment that Bungie tried this season, dropping all of the story beats at the start of the acts. Now, while this was good from a story perspective, I think it showed the cracks in how we interact with the story in Destiny 2. Well, this episode focused on Fikrul, Crow, Ido, Eramis and Mithrax. Fikrul had come into possession of the Echo and was transforming Elixni into Scorn. Ido felt pity for Eramis and wanted to include her in the process of defeating Fikrul, and Eramis ultimately ended up on top, cleansing Mithrax of his curse and leaving the Sol System to establish a new homeworld for the Elixni. We're no doubt going to visit once we leave the Sol System when Destiny 2 Frontiers rolls around, hopefully later in 2025 and beyond. So while Bungie dropped all the story beats at the start of the 3 individual acts, the way that we interact with the story didn't change. We were still going from vendor to terminal and then back to a vendor, often speaking to the same NPC via the terminal when they're standing next to them. The cutscenes were high quality as per normal, in particular the story beats with Fikrul displaying daddy issues with Crow. We were able to fly through the story, often repeating tasks or activities. While this isn't surprising, the way the story was dropped all in one go definitely shone the light on how Bungie deliver their stories, yet under focus it doesn't really hold up. We definitely need a shake-up, and Bungie did mention on the Heresy reveal stream they are going to be experimenting further with the next episode, and hopefully we see systematic changes in the next major release coming in 2025. So overall the story improved from episode Echoes, but I would still give it a 6 out of 10. Next up we got the activities, and I do think this was a bit of a stronger point for the episode. Bungie introduced a slight variation with Onslaught Salvation, building on the success of Into the Light last year. We had new maps, new enemies and a focus on stasis. It was a nice addition for a few runs, but it did quickly become quite stale. Full runs on Expert could take nearly an hour to complete, and there's only so many times that I want to run through that activity. A large part of what made Onslaught compelling the first time was the freshness of the activity itself plus the exceptional loot. Bungie essentially brought back the best weapons from Destiny 2 history, made them easy to get, plus added shiny variants. Here we had seasonal weapons and only a very limited handful. In Act 2, Tomb of Elders was introduced, a revamped version of Prison of Elders from the House of Wolves days in Destiny 1. Personally, I really enjoyed this activity a lot, and it's good to go back into the Prison of Elders, plus there were enough changes to make it feel fresh. A few more weapons were added, plus we had the return of the Season of the Splicer weapons as well. In Act 3 we had a new exotic mission which was, just okay. I felt it was similar to a long story mission, and while the exotic shotgun is a nice addition to the game, similar to the story mechanics, the exotic mission structure of running through, then running again week over week to get the catalysts has gotten stale for me. Given the changes to the story delivery this time, all 3 catalysts dropped at the same time, leading to running through the exotic mission back to back 3 times. That just doesn't feel good. It's worth pointing out the addition of the organ, which did allow for some excellent social media clips. So while Onslaught Salvation did get a little bit stale for me, I would give the activities in episode Revenant a 7 out of 10. Next up we got the loot, so the seasonal weapons were pretty good, and the reissued Splicer weapons also were good, and Iron Banner saw a stasis rocket assisted sidearm. This is now one of the best weapons in the game, and we had the Slayer's Fang from Kel's Fall. That was an exotic shotgun, and that is also a nice addition to the arsenal. Vantage Point, the Pulse Rifle, and Bittersweet, the Heavy Grenade Launcher from the seasonal weapons, were the standout weapons for me, and we also had the dungeon weapons, and I will get to those in a minute. So crafting has been removed, and a convoluted tonic system was introduced to help focus loot. Rather than simply selecting the weapon you wanted to focus, like we had with Into the Light, we had to craft a tonic with ingredients or reagents, mix it and then drink it, and then I didn't always feel like you actually get the loot that you wanted. I do applaud Bungie for trying new things and introducing an element of alchemy into the game, but it just didn't hit the mark, and I think it was riddled with bugs, and that led to a less than satisfactory gameplay experience. Talking about bugs, it was clear this season that the bugs were taking its toll on the overall gameplay experience. We used to have 1 or 2 bugs with major releases, but this episode the bugs were so rampant it started to erode the trust between the player base and Bungie. The tonic system is probably the best example, where in-game instructions would lead you to focusing a weapon, but you wouldn't always get what you wanted, leaving us fans not knowing if the system was working or not. Then we had the whole weight gate issue, where certain perk patterns were identified by the community in which the perk combinations that felt impossible to get. This led to a massive investigation by players, then Bungie, and ultimately ended up with Bungie apologising, saying yes there is a bug here, and dishing out apology loot via Banshee 44. Yeah, it's really just all a big mess. Hopefully Bungie are going to invest in quality assurance and increase the quality of the releases to us in the future. So overall with the loot, I would give that a 6 out of 10. So next we should talk about the dungeon, Vesper's Host. This is a high point of the season for me. Bungie again tried something new here by elevating dungeons to raid status and holding a dungeon race on day 1. The dungeon itself is pretty good, even though it's reusing some of the mechanics from Deepstone Crypt. I don't really mind this so much because they are good mechanics. We also saw the return of Icebreaker, and that hasn't actually run rampant in the game yet. A lot of people feared Icebreaker's return for many years, and that may be due to the drop rate being so small. I've run the dungeon multiple times and still haven't got it, but next time I'm going to try contest mode and try to avoid that situation. All the loot was great from Vesper's Host, with Chill Inhibitor and the Velocity Baton being the highlights and the weapons that I still use on my Guardian to this day. We had some seasonal events here too, including Festival of the Lost and the Dawning. No major changes to these events, except for accidentally giving away the upgraded event card. If you played a seasonal event in Destiny 2, then you would have known what to expect. Player numbers have dropped throughout the season, with many larger content creators like Astacross and Datto branching out even more into variety content. Player numbers have dropped to very low levels, with a high of 36,000 average players on Steam, and in December we saw the lowest player population ever of 20,000 across the month. In 2023 we saw lows of 33,000, so year over year the player count is dropping. This is starting to affect the in-game playlists. It's harder to get a raid group together, it's harder to get a dungeon group together, and also PvP players are filled with the same players over and over again. So overall, I'm going to give this episode a 6 out of 10. I definitely think Bungie could do a whole lot better. Bungie in general needs to do something to mix up things with Destiny 2. The game, the gameplay loops, the maps, the modes, they've existed for 11 years now, and players are just drifting away in larger numbers than ever before. I'm hopeful that Bungie will be able to bring back players with Frontiers, starting with Apollo later in 2025. However, with a reduced staff, dwindling player counts and the development team split between Destiny and Marathon, the road ahead looks more uncertain than ever. Well, let me know in the comments what you think about episode Revenant, and let me know what you think about episode Heresy that is dropping into the game tomorrow. But that is it for my episode Revenant review in Destiny 2, and as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for even more Destiny 2 content here on Endgame Express. Thanks again, and I'll see you very soon. Well, thank you for watching that video, and today I'd like to talk about Endgame Express Backstage, the home of exclusive content for fans of Endgame Express. To join, simply join up through Patreon or the YouTube membership. You get early access and exclusive content, shout-outs in the videos, access to live streams, plus also access to our exclusive Endgame Express Backstage community Discord. Well, here's some more information about the tiers. So in Tier 1, that is $2.99 a month, you get access to our community Discord and also early access to content. In Tier 2, that is $4.99 and you get shoutouts in the credits of videos, and also you get access to community polls and help shape the content. For Tier 3, that is $8.99 and you'll get access to exclusive community videos and also get access to exclusive live streams as well. Well, the core content on Endgame Express is always going to be free, but if you want to go above and beyond and support Endgame Express, then all you need to do is get access to Endgame Express Backstage today through Patreon or YouTube membership. You know, Endgame Express is a one-man band right now, but I would love to expand into more games, podcasts, more channels, but to do that, I'm going to need your help to make this sustainable, and in return, I offer you some exclusive benefits and backstage-only content. Well, if you enjoy Endgame Express, then consider Endgame Express Backstage today. You can hit that membership button right down below, or you can find us on the Patreon links, and you'll find those links in the description. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you very soon.